I'm just going to go through a session, and this session's around, it's all theory. So why don't we just stop playing chess? If we know all the answers and we know all the solutions, we know all the situations, strategies, plans, etc., why don't we just stop playing chess? 1510 we're going to search for. Maybe we can explain it to ourselves as we're going through this game as to why it really isn't all theory. Okay, finally got a game. So we're going to push through the center here. So I don't know if this is all theory or not. Somebody will look at the game and go, oh yes, this is all theory, bringing the knight here, etc. I used to take the pawn here because the computer takes the pawn there, but I feel it loses a little bit of tempo in terms of developing my other pieces. So I'm just going to develop my pieces and ignore this pawn for a brief moment. So I'm just going to bring the pawn to support the pawn then, to take away any confusion. It looks like they've brought the knight to support the knight pawn here, and they've moved this bishop dead quickly. It looks like they're rushing to castle, which makes sense, and we could do this. We're probably waiting for them to lock everything down here to feel comfortable that they're attacking our kingside area. So we could take the pawn now and then castle. Now it's got half open file in front of the king area, and they're chomping at the bit to jump down, hit the knight. Maybe knight can jump here, so we will castle, just keeping it nice and simple as best possible. So the bishop's rushing to get this pawn, you know, it's like, oh, gotta get the pawn. Going to develop this bishop and x-ray through to the queen, keeping it as simple as possible. We know this pawn is going to be hitting, so we're not jumping here, but we could do now because the bishop is x-raying through, but it's not going to stay there too long because I think they'll just see the bishop off. So there's a combination of things that's potentially going to happen. This pawn wants to push on here, but it doesn't want to do it just yet. But it can do because the bishop is there. So if the knight did jump here and the bishop takes, then the pawn can take, and at least then the knight's not having to be forced to move because the bishop is x-raying through to the queen. Whew. But they may do none of that, so I'm not doing my calculations anymore. This pawn now is not protected by the knight. The knight has jumped in looking to attack the bishop. The queen's protecting this pawn, so we can take the pawn. It's just the rook can come here and it is x-raying through to the bishop. The knight and the queen are currently defending the bishop, so we've got 2-on-1 protection there. So I will take the pawn. Again, I don't know if it's a theoretical line or not. I don't know any theory. I play the game that we play. We're using the answer to chess that we use. And so they've brought the bishop back. And just looking behind there, he's got this, but he's not got any support at the minute from the queen. So we can bring the knight back around again to attack their knight. He does have his pieces facing towards our king area, so I will bring it back and attack the knight. And see what the knight's wanting to do. So they do take. So the bishop can take now, and we have a 2-on-1 on this pawn. We've got the x-ray through with the bishop onto the queen. So the knight probably is not going to be wanting to get involved. So I think this pawn is going to be hitting the bishop to find out what it wants to do. We can take, because if he takes with the pawn and takes with the rook, the knight or the bishop can take with a check on the king, or the knight can come here and attack whatever's there. So we will take the knight. And fingers crossed, at least we gain some type of advantage potentially. Bishop with a check on the king looks nicer, but the knight manages lots of space. Ooh, okay. So the queen's down, so the knight could take, and it's on the queen, it's on the pawn, but the bishop's protecting the pawn. But behind the knight is a pawn, so the queen could come down and take. So I think we'll go with the bishop taking with the check. King safely moves, probably going on to a white square because we don't have a white square bishop. Now they have their pieces in front of our king. So do we want to look to trade down? We're +2 at the minute. That's 2 pawns, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think if we move the knight here, we're attacking the queen and we're attacking the bishop as well. So then probably just going to take with this. And do we open up the queen or do we take with the bishop? Going to go either way depending on what they do. I think maybe they might take, or maybe the queen just moves back and defends the bishop. So they have options. Nothing's clear, and they are facing our king area-ish. Maybe the queen moves across a bit, maybe, but we'll just take the bishop off the board anyway. Because he might be looking for this situation with the bishop. So that's might be a plus for them actually. They slide across here. If we take the bishop, then does he have time? Oh, didn't reckon on that, did we? Didn't reckon on that. So we can take, and then the queen comes here with a check. We have to move back in. Does that look... It doesn't look like the queen's got any further support from there. So I'm going to take the bishop. Unless I'm falling into some sort of tactical type thing. As you know, I'm not a fan of tactics. Oh, he's squeezed in. It's got the bishop. Wow, that's a little bit clever, isn't it? The bishop's got no support. So the knight can come back around and attack his bishop. Oh, so he's going to be up material. Oh no, it's equal because he's just given up the bishop. So the knight can jump here attacking their bishop. Queen takes the bishop, knight takes, queen, and our king is very airy. Interesting situation. Well, let's see. I think we're going to bring the knight, because we're losing the bishop anyway, aren't we? So we're going to just bring the knight around, attack the bishop. Our king is very airy, so we're going to have to try and get our queen out somehow. So we don't need to take the bishop just yet, but we could bring the queen here, put in like a 2-on-1. It's got 2-on-1 protection, but maybe we're going to miss out on... We take... I'm assuming the queen's taking. Interesting situation. I do like this, but there's doesn't look as any follow-on there, and then we lose the bishop because he just goes and hides away in the corner. So does that really improve our position? I don't really think it does. So I'm going to take the bishop. And there should be a fight for this open file, but our king is so airy that I can't even get my queen in to really protect it or anything. The rook's down. So the rook's coming across, boom. We come here. And he'd need to do a bit of a shuffle somehow to get his queen maybe to here to come down. So it gives us time to move our queen here, but his rook's still coming here, putting a check on. Move the king. Rooks don't have any place in the centre of the board, so I think we're going to move the queen first. We are expecting the rook to come, then we come here. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it works out. And the fight for owning the file should be the key thing really with the rooks. So he doesn't have to go there, he can swing here and stuff like that as well. See, they don't do what you expect them to do, and that's why, in my head, it's not all theory, because you don't know what the opponent is going to do. the idea of saying, oh, it's all theory, I know all of these moves, I know all these, really, probably for me, well, I know for me, definitely, it's not theoretical. I can have a holistic strategy about the game that I'm in at this moment in time. So it's actually attacking the queen. Didn't really expect that. So we could look to see if we could get the queen off the board and just try and challenge it. But he's going to be putting a check on the king. We've got the king to move here. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, having the rook in the centre of the board, if it does come down to the queen coming off and etc., I'm hoping that's going to be a sign of a weakness. Maybe they'll just come back and attack the pawn. We can support and maybe get this rook here trying to own this file. I'm hoping the tempo's working on our side in that sense. But as we've just mentioned, we don't know what the opponent is going to do. They have so many options. They could just simply just put the check on, and I might have missed a continuation somewhere. But at this moment in time, I'm not seeing the follow-on from that check. King can come here, and then not seeing what else is supporting that attack. So he doesn't have to go for the exchange. He could move his queen out of the way, do some fancy business somewhere. I don't know. Could go here to attack the pawn to give us things to think about. So the pluses for me, I'm just thinking the rook in the centre of the board has got no place being there. That's part of our mantra. Unless, of course, it's to their benefit. I'm not seeing it at the minute, unless, of course, there's a tactical thing that I've missed. The other pluses, I think we have tempo in terms of trying to win the open file structure potentially because of the fact that they have the rook in the centre of the board. So I'm going to move the king out of the way. There's no rush actually. This is a 15-minute, 10-second game, but I'm just waiting to see whatever magic it is that they've got with the continuation, because it looks like they're not wanting to exchange the queen, so the queen's probably coming here opposite the king. And is he then trying to do something like, I don't really see it. I don't really see it unless this rook is coming here facing somehow after he's done there, but would we allow that? Not sure. Yeah, the unknown territories of what the opponent can and can't do, the expectations of their position, etc. We just don't know. There could potentially be the slightest of edges in terms of position on the board for us, just because of the rook being in the centre of the board by itself. But they could have some sort of weird continuation where they're keeping the pressure on, giving us things to think about that I might be missing. Yeah, so the queen's gone over. It's not wanting to get exchanged at all. And what magic is there? I mean, he can squeeze in here, I suppose. We can bring this rook into the game a little bit. But am I missing something? What am I missing? Because ideally, he'd want to have his queen here and then get a checkmate like this. Is he looking to do this? Maybe not that, but maybe get the rook here. Ah, yeah. Get the rook attacking the queen, because he wants his queen to come here, and then he can come down, and then that would be a mate. That's the thing I'm kind of seeing. So a smaller piece attacking a higher piece. If we did this, that would give him that position that he's wanting. But we can go here with the king, but then he's got his rook that can come here. See where I'm going? So I think the rook needs to come into the game. That's what I think personally, trying to manage the open file. Whilst their rook then comes here, attacking our queen. And then we attack their queen. Their queen goes. I'm going around the back. Maybe. I don't think they want to, but it looks like they're eyeing this square up. So their queen does that. This rook is blocking that space, so it's not going to go there anymore. Where else would he go? He really wants to stay around our king. So let's go with this. I think the other rook is going to come across though before we move that. Yep, so coming here. And then the other rook comes into the game. It doesn't look too dynamic though, does it? Because I think he wants to do this. So if we did do this and then he does that, then we do what we said, attacking the queen. He's not going to have time to do that. So I'm going to bring the rook across. Because they're using the answer to chess themselves. Attacking the king area and other spaces around the king. They've got the pieces there ready to go. And I did say he was potentially going to do this, but it's not a checkmate. It's just, it just means that the pawn can't take the rook, that's all. So I think they're probably going to do that and then try and angle here, but then we'd be able to take the rook off the board if he did do that. So that's what my brain is rattling with at the minute. How is their answer working? Potentially there's this thing going here. We can still hit. But we shall see. And again, could do this as well just to get in between the queen. So if the rook comes here and then we go like this, then the rook gets in between the queen. Then we put a check on the king. King moves down. Oh, he's going for that. He's getting in between the queens. So do we have time to actually push? Then the queen comes here looking for that ideal position that we talked about, which is trying to squish here. Hit. Bang. No, maybe we'll hang fire on that one. So we know it's going in between here. We could take a pawn. We're not really a greedy munching queen type situation though. But we could take a pawn. We could attack the rook and attack the queen at the same time. And then there's no in between. Well, there is actually, because it can just go like this. So I think that's probably a better one. Queen takes, rook takes, is on the pawn. Not going to have any of that. I think the rook will just come in. It might even just run away. Or we could be sending it all the way down. We could be sending it all the way down to get across here to come down here. We've got a check on the king. King comes down. We've got another check on the king. He drops the pawn. We've got a check on and queen. So we will attack the queen and the rook. Try to look at the combinations of what his rook can potentially do. He's eyeing up the king area, which is the answer to chess. We're trying to get a circumvention of that attack. I mean, like we said, this rook in the center of the board, I don't believe that that's working for them, which is good for me. But we have to still be careful if we can manage this file with the rook. So I think we're in. He may not do anything and he might just move his king across, you know, but then we can take the queen off the board at least. So striking two pieces gives them something to think about. I'm not going to do any more thinking now on that one. I think we've done it to death in terms of looking at potential weaknesses, smallest of maybe strengths that we may have in this particular position. But as we know, we just don't know. They could sacrifice stuff and win some weird tempo or something. but I don't see it at the minute. No, I'm not seeing it. But that doesn't mean it's not there because I don't see it. I've actually gone and done the intermission thing. Definitely doesn't want to get rid of his queen. There's no point doing this because we're just getting hit. So we're going to just go with the check on the king. So it could end up being a draw because he's probably just going to go up and down with his king. He's going to put the check on. Yeah, because his rook's just going to intermission in there. If we go for attacking the queen. Although going for attacking the queen is not a good thing actually, because his queen would take, then our rook would take, then his rook would take. Yeah, So still this is not working. It's so tempting, but it's just going in here. So we have no more checks on his king. We've got a pawn. He's got 3 pieces now facing our king area. And each one of these can just drop down. We can push up, obviously. This is a fork if I ever saw one. But it's not a very good fork because this rook can just drop down here. But I suppose in a way it's a half decent fork because then we can take with a check on the king. Queen has to take, pawn takes. And we're +1 now at this moment in time, so that might be a half decent fork, you know. So we'll hit the rooks. Got 7 minutes. Hit the rooks with the pawn. The queen's not taking because we'll take the queen for free. He could drop this rook attacking our queen, but he can't. No, sorry, he can't because we've got the x-ray through. I think that's the pawn. That's the strike. So we'll go with the fork. With the pawn that is in front of our king. Very dangerous move. So the queen could still come here and come for this, which is probably what they're going to do. Could come in here and then we can swing in here and attack if that happens. Something like that. But I don't know. When we do calculations, we see things that we want to see, and then somehow when it goes wrong, we haven't seen everything. So we're going to take, and then one of his rooks is coming across, is opposite our king. It's obviously going to be this one because this one's blocking that way. So we're going to have to push this pawn here to protect the queen and give space for the king. Yeah, okay, let's do that. So it'll be this one. We push this pawn. Hey? Oh, we won by abandonment. Yeah, so it's going to be down a rook because we're assuming this one's going, so then we do this. And if he is taking, then we would be taking. And this is coming across. We couldn't then defend for a brief moment. So we could move but we've got 2 rooks against 1 rook and we're owning the files. So that's potentially what would have happened. That's why they abandoned the game. So we eventually got there in the end. It got a bit murky because, as we said, we just don't know what the opponent's going to do. Is it all theory? Or am I actually using my own brain now to deal with this game? If you aren't using your own brain in your games, you're going to fall foul because this all theory type statement really tries to take away your own individual thought processes in any chess game. If you don't know how to play your own chess, you're going to come a cropper. There's so many ways that you as an individual, your own chess game how you can play your opening, your mid game, your end game.